was with the occupation of the Falls Road that the nationalist population began to see the British Army clearly as the enemy, not as a neutral police force. It was also the beginning of what has since become the longest war in the history of English-Irish conflict. Shortly after the Falls Road occupation, guerrilla war started, but it was a new kind of war. The IRA did not just ambush British soldiers, they also launched a bombing campaign against British economic interests. These actions have on occasion led to terrible tragedies, as with the Le Mans restaurant bombing of February 1978, in which 14 people were killed. Nonetheless, civilian casualties as a result of the Provisionals' guerrilla war have been relatively low, for their bombings are in fact systematically preceded by warnings. By August 1971, the number of monthly bombings had risen to over 90. The British government, which directly reimburses businesses for all war damage that they suffer, was beginning to pay a very high price for its Northern Irish colony. This single bombing of a Belfast hotel caused no deaths or injuries, but it did cause more than £2 million damage. Against this guerrilla campaign, the British government hit back with a measure that had always worked well in the past, the Special Powers Act.
They burst in the door about 20 minutes to 5. They didn't wait till we would get up and answer the door. They were in the bedroom before we were dressed. They told my husband, "You're getting arrested under the Special Powers Act."
It is with understandable reluctance that one uses these exceptional powers. This is not action taken against any responsible and law-abiding section of the community, nor is it in any way punitive or indiscriminate. Its benefits should be felt not least in those places where violent men have exercised a certain sway by threat and intimidation over decent and responsible men and women. The main target of the present operation is the Irish Republican Army, which has been responsible for recent acts of terrorism.
On August 9, 1971, 330 nationalists were arrested in dawn raids. In the rioting that day, 14 people were killed.
Wilfred! the ordinary soldier like myself a chance to get to grips with the gunmen, because our main problem isn't the local population, it's just the IRA gunmen that we are interested in.
Through the little streets of Belfast in the dark of early morn, British soldiers came marauding, wrecking little homes with scorn. Heedless of the crying children, dragging fathers from their beds, beaten sons while helpless mothers watched the blood flow from their heads. Armored cars and tanks and guns came to take away our sons. Every man will stand behind the man behind the wire. Not for them a judge or jury, nor indeed a crime at all. Being Irish means they're guilty, so we're guilty one and all. All around the truth will echo, Cromwell's men are here again. England's name again is sullied in the eyes of honest men.
There was no means to heat up the body. Now these people have been sitting from 4:30 on Monday morning till now, and they're still in the same conditions. They've been put in the huts, as I say, like pigs. And the only time they get out is for interrogation by the bastards of the RUC special branch. Now, as everybody well knows, when you go in for interrogation...
Just days after interment was introduced, the nationalists began to realise that the internees had not only been beaten up, which everyone expected, but that some had been severely tortured. Electric shocks, druggings, deprivation of sleep, food, water, all came under the official term of deep interrogation. In 1976, the European Commission of Human Rights found the British government guilty of torturing certain internees. Britain promised that such interrogation methods would never again be used. But in 1978, two different studies, one by Amnesty International and another by an independent tribunal of jurists, concluded that brutality and torture against nationalist suspects remained a widespread practice.
To me, during these torture periods was I was in the Springfield Road Torture Centre, and I'd been held for about 3 days at the time and had undergone the usual torture treatment, that is the beating, the threats, the hot and cold treatment, you know, hot water and so on and so forth. And I was brought into a room where a special branch was there, you know, that's the torturers, and he pulled a truncheon from the drawer, and he told me that the method of interrogation could be two ways, the easy way or the hard way. But I was very frightened, you know, so I told him I wanted the easy way, and he told me, give me a slip of paper and a pen, and told me that I was to give him the names of two prominent IRA men, you know, two IRA volunteers, officers, and I said I didn't know any. So he left the room to get the heavy squad. These are the guerrillas, you know, that give you the big beating, and that if I hadn't got the names by the time he returned, I could expect the full treatment. So he went away, you know, and I was pissed off at this, you know, and came back, and do you know any names? And I said, well, I don't know anybody, but, and when I said but, he jumped, you know, he said, right, Mr. Austin, we know you're a very sound kind of a guy, and you tell us names and we let you go, you can go home to your family. So I says, well, the names I know are Daithí O'Connell and Joe Cahill, you know, whose names were on TV every night, and this he went fucking mad, you know, and dragged me from the room back into the cell. But these are one of the many stories that have happened, you know. This is the humorous side of interrogation. You know, the other side is that 2 streets from here, last week, a boy of 19 was arrested and was beaten to death by the special branch and by the British soldiers. This is a general practice. Either beat you to death or near to death, you know, and this is what it's all about.